Dear Federal Reserve, your number's up. Enjoy the audit. That's what many people wanted to hear regarding the financial meltdown that happened back in September 2008. How much cash did the Fed fork over to the financial institutions? What kinds of loans were handed out? Any signs of unregulated financial hanky-panky? Adam Kokesh is a congressional candidate in New Mexico. He joins us now. Mr. Kokesh, let me go ahead and give you some of the details, some bullet point details about this proposed audit. Number one, it would be conducted on a one-time basis. It supposedly wouldn't interfere with authority to set monetary policy. It would focus on lending from December 2007 on, and the results have to be posted by December 1st. So, after considering all of this, and now that I've thoroughly bored you with the details, your first reaction to this this proposed audit that's actually being pushed by the Obama administration?
Well, I don't think you bored me with those details. To me, that kind of talk about challenging the Federal Reserve System is actually quite exciting, given the disastrous effect it's had on our economy since 1913. But you did certainly disappoint me with those details, although I know you don't deserve all the credit for that, but the watering down and taking the teeth out of the audit originally proposed by Congressman Ron Paul and Senator Bernie Sanders is quite disappointing. And I think what they're doing here is just kind of throwing out a bone to say, here, I know you're upset that we gave away all your money to all these corrupt financial institutions, and I don't think it's going to work.
You said something very interesting just a couple seconds ago. You called this the watering down to kind of appease to Bernie Sanders, but then you also invoked somebody else, I believe, who you are a fan of, Ron Paul. So explain that to me a little bit more.
Well, I mean, it's great to see that people like Bernie Sanders and Ron Paul, who have such a great disparity ideologically, but are both people that I have immense respect for as men of principle who are up on Capitol Hill for the right reasons, fighting for what they believe in, both agree that we need to audit the Federal Reserve and significantly rein in its power. And to see that they have been working together on this, that there is that kind of support, bipartisan support for a bill to audit the Federal Reserve is really exciting. But inevitably, two men standing alone on Capitol Hill aren't really going to be able to get much change done. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running, and I think for the right reasons, to take the power away from this corrupt financial institution, the Federal Reserve System, and get more honest monetary policy, bring some transparency, rein in the powers of the Federal Reserve. And there are a lot of people in the public who are waking up to this now that they see how badly we are suffering in the economy and saying we need to start looking at some of these underlying issues. And monetary policy is a huge one of them. Now, to escape that full audit, one of the things that Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke has invoked is that he said that this would challenge the independence of the Federal Reserve System. Well, that's what we want to do in some way, but to say that we're just going to make sure that, at least for now, without challenging your independence, we're just going to make sure we know how you are acting with the current independence and authority that you have. And he's saying, oh, no, we can't tell you how we do things, otherwise we're not going to be as independent, is really a ridiculous kind of thing to hide behind.
But to be completely fair, not auditing the Federal Reserve has been the policy in the United States since the creation of the Federal Reserve. So it's not necessarily a Ben Bernanke thing.
And the Federal Reserve has a mandate to maintain price stability and full employment. Obviously, it's not working under the current setup. Something needs to be changed. I mean, basic principles of good government, we should be setting out very clear, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely objectives for all government programs. And if they fail to meet them, we should make sure that our leaders have the courage to say, this is a failed program, and have the courage to admit the mistake and say that we need to change something. And unfortunately, we're not getting that kind of change when it comes to monetary policy. But I think we're going to see it in the near future, inevitably, because people are waking up to this and the American people are demanding that our leaders do something about it.
We don't have too much time, but let me go ahead and bring up one argument here, somebody who might not necessarily ascribe to what you believe, and that is this. Sure. Look, at least this is something. This is at least a first step. Do you have a reaction to that argument?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, and it's good. It is a good step to get this very limited audit. But compared to what's being proposed, what people are demanding, what over 300 members of Congress signed on as co-sponsors for in the original bill, H.R. 1207, this is a pittance by comparison. And it really is, I understand change is incremental And, when you're adjusting government policy, change generally should be incremental. But when it comes to transparency, I think we can get full transparency. We can demand that from an institution that is as big and as powerful and as significant to our economy and to our country as the Federal Reserve System. So there's really no excuse that I think is that anybody's buying out there for why we can't get simple transparency, full transparency from the Fed. Not even, transparency. We're not talking about, the Federal Open Market Commission being able to let us in on their meetings, or the board to have all of their meetings minutes published and transparent. We're not even talking about that level of transparency, but just simple transparency of the final actions and decisions that come out of these meetings and the way monetary policy and bank bailouts are actually being conducted. And there's really no excuse for not having that full transparency of the Federal Reserve System.
Adam Kokesh, congressional candidate and a glass half full and half empty kind of guy. Good luck to your congressional pursuits.